Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by the Heritage Foundation. For 52 years, Heritage has fought tirelessly for America's founding principles and advancing conservative public policies. Much more than a think tank, Heritage is a conservative policy powerhouse, fighting for the everyday American to advance common sense policies and dismantle the D.C. bureaucracy. Our founding fathers gave us an extraordinary system of government, and the Heritage Foundation is dedicated to defending the heritage and carrying on their legacy for future generations. So get involved by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda by visiting heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The Final Four, Saturday and Monday, apparently. And 6 p.m. Saturday, it's Florida versus Auburn. And 9 p.m. Saturday, it's Houston versus Duke. Sunday is clear. Finally, Mr. Producer. Sunday's clear of sports. Well, maybe not baseball. Who knows? So, if you can set your DVR 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, you're in for a treat. I promise you. And I see that the media are going around asking Republicans about tariffs, and I don't blame them. But how come they never go around and ask anybody about the foreign tariffs that are on our goods? I'm just curious about that. Seriously. I don't mind them asking about what Trump's doing. That's real news. But why don't they ever go around and say, well, what do you think about China's 67% tariffs? Canada has tariffs on their dairy products into the hundreds. Several 100%. It's just strange to me that they don't dig into this at all. But we will, of course. These two shows are going to be great, just like this one is. You ready for this one, ladies and gentlemen? Associated Press. This just came out. The Supreme Court of the United States, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, granted the Trump administration's plea to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in teacher training money as part of its anti-DEI efforts while a lawsuit continues. You know what the vote was? 5-4. 5-4. You were the three so-called liberal justices, the radicals, joined by the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts. So John Roberts joins Jackson, Sotomayor, and Kagan. Very troubling. Very, very troubling. Then the Associated Press goes on about the cuts to more than 100 programs been temporarily blocked by a federal judge in Boston. Found that they were already affecting training programs aimed at addressing a nationwide teacher shortage. So what? It's not a judge's business. The emergency appeal is among several the High Court is considering, in which the Justice Department argues that lower court judges have improperly obstructed President Trump's agenda. Friday's order was the first time in 3 attempts that the nation's highest court gave the administration what it wanted on an emergency basis. But there's John Roberts voting with the 3 radicals. U.S. District Judge Mayan Wan issued a temporary restraining order sought by 8 Democratic-led states that argued the cuts were likely driven by efforts from Trump's administration to eliminate DEI programs. Well, what if they were? So what? So this is very important to understand that John Roberts went with the other 3, which is also means that Barrett went with the 4. Their separate opinion, Ketanji Brown Jackson, by my observation, she's a woman, but she doesn't know if she is or not because she couldn't explain it. It's beyond puzzling that a majority of justices conceive of the government's application as an emergency. It's beyond puzzling? Well, you're beyond stupid then if that's what you conclude. California is leading the ongoing lawsuit, joined by Massachusetts, New Jersey, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, New York, Wisconsin. Boston Public Schools already fired several full-time employees due to the loss of grant fund. Well, so what? What does this have to do with judges intervening? I mean, this is incredible to me. And there he is. John Roberts. How pathetic. What's with this guy? Apparently something's not right. Listen to this one. New York Post. Trump demands Harvard University ban face masks, crack down on anti-Semitism, or lose $9 billion in funding. Harvard has an endowment of like over $50 billion. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? Over $50 billion. Why is he getting $9 billion in federal funding? Why are you taking $9 billion from electricians and truck drivers, from cops and firefighters, whomever, and giving it to an Ivy League, probably the Ivy League school, that has $52 billion in the bank? Government officials set out the terms in a stern letter. They accused the Ivy League of fundamentally failing to protect American students and faculty from anti-Semitic violence and harassment. I want to thank the Trump administration again and again and again for what they're doing. The Biden administration did absolutely nothing about this. They are really digging in. They're really fighting it. Forget about Josh Shapiro. Forget about this guy, Greenblatt, who runs the Anti-Defamation League. These guys try to unjew themselves because the radical left-wing Democrats that fund the ADL, apparently, and others, this guy Josh Shapiro is a pathetic, sickening joke. They try and have it both ways. You don't have it both ways. Like Columbia, the Cambridge, Massachusetts campus has been a hotbed for student-led anti-Israel protests. They are not anti-Israel protests. They're not being punished because they're anti-Israel. They're anti-Semitic, violent, harassment activities. They are riotous. Now, Harvard must limit the time, place, and manner of campus speech and protests. Review academic departments that fuel anti-Semitic harassment. Notice that? Anti-Semitic harassment. Those departments are required to address bias and improve viewpoint diversity. The letter sent to Harvard President Alan Garber did not specify the departments at Harvard that need review. It's because all of them do. The letter also called for firmer enforcement of the university's existing discipline policies, as well as a report on all actions taken in response to anti-Semitism since the October 7, 2023 attack in Israel. Alexander Katzenbaum, a Harvard Divinity School graduate who's suing the university over campus anti-Semitism, supported the administration's crackdown. I know, but I don't think Joshy does. The Joster over there, Shapiro in Pennsylvania. He said, in the same way the federal government threatened to withhold funds from racist school districts that refuse to integrate, the power of the purse is the last tool available to coerce Harvard to treat all its students with equality and justice. One of the reasons I support this so strongly is because it was an idea I wrote about in American Marxism. I wrote about this idea 4 years ago, Mr. Producer. Defund the universities. Defund the colleges. This is the way to do it. And the Trump administration is doing exactly that. And the Trump administration should do exactly that. The Biden administration refused. And the Trump administration gets no credit from the media, no credit from the Democrats, because they don't support it. They don't support it. Tell me one major Democrat who supports this. Who are they? Where are they? Is he governor? Senator? Who is it? Well, I can't think of any. If there is one, it's one. That's it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leaders as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our Founding Fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. I have in front of me, sent to me by my wife, Julie, the order of the court about an hour ago, in this case involving the holding back of these DEI funds, where 5 justices said that there's a temporary stay on what the lower district court had ordered, and the 3 radicals, plus Hollywood Johnny, that would be the Chief Justice, ruled the opposite, but they lost. They write, on March 10, 2025, the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts issued what it styled as a temporary restraining order enjoining the government from terminating various education-related grants. Now, keep in mind, again, you have one district judge, and in Boston. This is a national restraining order. It said the order also requires the government to pay out past due grant obligations and to continue paying obligations as they accrue. The district court's conclusion rested on a finding that respondents are likely to succeed on the merits of their claims under the Administrative Procedure Act. On March 26, the government filed this application to vacate the district court's March 10 order and requested an immediate administrative stay. The application was presented to Justice Jackson and by her referred to the court. Although the courts of appeals generally lack appellate jurisdiction over appeals from temporary restraining orders, several factors counsel in favor of construing the district court's order as an appealable preliminary injunction. And this is a very important point. These lower courts are using these temporary restraining orders, which are supposed to really be like 10 days, very limited, as temporary injunctions, which are much more substantial. and are appealable. Moreover, the district court's basis for issuing the order is strongly challenged, as the government is likely to succeed in showing the district court lacked jurisdiction to order the payment of money under the APA. So they're laying the foundation. That is, these 5 justices, hopefully all 5, but certainly 4, but the 5 justices to try and rein in these courts. We'll see. The legal analysts who are reading this are not reading it properly. I am. I'm an analyst. They're analysts. The APA's waiver of sovereign immunity does not apply if any other statute that grants consent to suit expressly or impliedly forbids the relief which is sought. Nor does the waiver apply to claims seeking money damages. True, a district court's jurisdiction is not barred by the possibility that an order setting aside an agency's action may result in the disbursement of funds, but as we have recognized, the APA's limited waiver of immunity does not extend to orders to enforce a contractual obligation to pay money along the along the lines of what the district court ordered here. Instead, the Tucker Act grants the court of federal claims. All right, you don't need to know all this stuff. As for the remaining stay factors, respondents have not refuted. That's respondents would be the libs. The government's representation that it's unlikely to recover the grant funds once they're dispersed. No grantee promised to return withdrawn funds should its grant termination be reinstated. The district court declined to impose a bond. By contrast, the government compellingly argues that respondents would not suffer irreparable harm while a TRO is stayed. Respondents are represented in this litigation. They have the financial wherewithal to keep their programs running. So if respondents ultimately prevail, they can recover any wrongfully withheld funds through suit in appropriate form. If respondents instead decline to keep the programs operating, then any ensuing irreparable harm would be of their own making. We construe the application as seeking a stay pending appeal and grant the application. Grant the Trump administration's appeal. The March 10, 2025 order and the March 24 extension of the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts is stayed, pending the disposition of the appeal in the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. The disposition of petition for a writ of certiorari if such a writ is timely and sought. Should certiorari be denied, this stay shall terminate automatically. In the event certiorari is granted, the stay shall terminate upon the sending down of the judgment of this court. So in other words, they can go to appeal to the First Circuit, depending on what they do, or they can try and go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, depending on what avenue they try. The court will sit back and wait. But in the meantime, they said yes. Yes, they can stay what the lower court had ordered. And John Roberts voted with the 3 radicals on the court that no, the money should have proceeded anyway. There's a complete issue about jurisdiction here. I think these 5 justices, I pray the 5, certainly 4, understand that's a problem. Here you have a guy in Boston making orders affecting the entire country. We see this all over the place. And they need to start kicking these things back. And then as they come forward, they can start to address this and fix it. Because apparently John Roberts is deaf, dumb, and blind. He doesn't see the fact that the political branches, the president and the Republican-controlled House and Senate, have had about enough of this. And if they step in, they're going to step in a way that's far more drastic than if the court just does its job. But when you have a Chief Justice like this, I call him a Hollywood John because he's very concerned about how he's viewed by the media, especially the libs. He's not a William Rehnquist, a man of tremendous principle and stature. He's almost a Lilliputian as far as I'm concerned. And so when you see that he does this, it says here the Chief Justice would deny the application, that's very problematic. So I would encourage the Republicans in the House and the Senate, keep pressing forward. We're denying the ability of any single court, lower court, to have a national injunction or temporary restraining order, but a national injunction, a national order, actually, of any kind. And also, please go forward with defunding this Judge Boasberg's district, his court. Folks, I need to talk to you about something crucial to the future of America. Our friends at the Heritage Foundation are on the front lines fighting for our conservative values. Heritage is dedicated to promoting policies that will help bolster our economy, protect our borders, and uphold the rule of law. They're working tirelessly to defend our Constitution and the principles that make America exceptional. To help accomplish this, they need you to complete their national survey on President Trump's agenda today. So you can participate in this survey by going to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Your responses are crucial to this survey, and they'll provide Heritage leadership with crucial feedback as they work closely with the folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. By completing this very important survey today, you're standing up for the values that have made this country great. And my friends at Heritage need you to act now to maximize their impact on President Trump's first 100 days. So please don't wait. Our future depends on you. Together, we can make a difference, and future generations inherit a nation that is free, prosperous, and strong. So please, right now, visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, complete your survey, and join the fight for America's future. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, America's passionately cerebral voice. Talk with that voice now. 877-381-3811.
Well, let's keep doing a cleanup job here, as we must. Judge Boasberg, this is the notorious radical left-wing judge who they pretend is a Bush guy. They're fairly moderate, don't you know? Judge Boasberg poised to hold Trump administration in contempt, takes down names of DHS officials. Pretty sketchy, he said, what they did. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg grilled Trump administration lawyers over whether they defied a court order, blocking deportations under a wartime immigration law, a potential step toward holding the administration in contempt. Didn't I mention this a week or 10 days ago, Rich, that's where he was going with this? It issues the administration's use of the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan nationals. Don't you love it? Including alleged members of the violent Tren de Agua gang. Boasberg pressed Deputy Assistant Attorney General Drew Ensign on why the government appeared to ignore an emergency injunction last month, halting those deportations. The administration has appealed the underlying case to the Supreme Court, but for now, Boasberg is weighing whether there's probable cause to move forward with contempt proceedings, a question that remained open after a tense exchange in court. This guy is hot to trot to hold this administration in contempt. Now, he wants the law to be followed because he said, I'm a judge. But when it comes to the Constitution, he's stomping all over it. Stomping all over it. He said he would issue a decision as early as next week on how to proceed if he finds grounds to hold the administration in contempt. During the hearing, Ensign of the Trump DOJ was repeatedly questioned about who in the Trump administration had information about the flights and when the 3 deportation flights left U.S. soil for El Salvador. At least 261 migrants, illegal aliens, were deported that day, including more than 100 Venezuelan nationals who were subject to removal solely on the basis of the law temporarily blocked by the court. What is wrong with you, AP? Who the hell wrote this? And you bend over backwards for these people? It's sick. During the hearing, okay, you maintain the government was in full compliance with the court's order on March 15, correct? Boasberg asked Ensign. Ensign said yes, to which the judge responded, it seems to me the government acted in bad faith that day. If you really believed everything you did that day was legal and would survive a court challenge, you would not have operated the way that you did, Boasberg said. He repeatedly questioned Ensign about his knowledge of the flights, whether any related materials were classified, which could have triggered state secrets protections. Government lawyers have refused to share information in court about the deportation flights, or whether the plane or planes of migrants knowingly departed U.S. soil after the judge ordered them not to, citing national security protections. But according to Ensign, that may not have been an issue. He told Boasberg the flight information likely wasn't classified, prompting the judge to wonder aloud why it hadn't been shared with him in an ex-parte setting. Can you think of one instance where the state secrets privilege was invoked using unclassified information? He asked Ensign, who struggled to respond. Pretty sketchy, the judge said. Another focus on the hearing was timing, both when President Trump signed the proclamation authorizing use of the Alien Enemies Act and when federal agents began loading planes with migrants bound for El Salvador. Boasberg noted that Trump administration began loading the planes the morning of March 15, hours before the flights left the U.S. So that it's not crazy to infer there was prior knowledge and actions ahead of the Saturday night deportations, he asked Ensign. The judge pressed the lawyer over the names, locations, agencies of individuals who were privy to the removals, as well as internal conversations with other administration officials. Here's my question, Judge. How many of these officials received your written order? How many were given proper notice by the court? Exactly 0, because you issued the written order after the planes left. And that's the point, America. And I should damn well know, because that was my case 22 damn years ago in that same courthouse involving the Environmental Protection Agency. Where was your written order, Judge? When did you write it? To whom did you issue it? And the reason the court decided, Judge Lamberth at the time decided, that he should have put his order in writing was to ensure that people had knowledge and were informed. And he himself realized he needed to do that. If you're going to hold people in contempt of your order, they need to see the order. Not hear about it, not know about it. They need to have it. Who did you tell about my order, Boasberg asked. Once the hearing was done, who did you tell? You get the point? Who did you tell? They should have had to tell anybody. If it had been put in writing, and it would have taken no time at all. He could have said, I want the parties to wait, I'll be right back. Go in the conference room, write it himself, or have one of his clerks write it, however he wanted to do it. Come back, here's my order. Spread the word. Spread the order. It's a big department, the Department of Homeland Security. It's a big federal government. Ensign said he relayed the information to the Department of Homeland Security contacts and State Department officials, among others. He listed the names of individuals at Boasberg's request, which the judge then carefully transcribed on a pad of paper, interjecting at times to clarify the spelling. And if I were any of those individuals who he seeks to hold in contempt, you should object, you should appeal, you should say the judge failed basic judging 101, especially in that district in Washington, D.C. Did you get a copy of his order? No. No, I didn't get a copy of his order. Why? Because he didn't put it in writing. Why is that so important? So we know exactly what the hell we're supposed to do. That's why. 22 years ago. That's what that district held. Now, this should be embarrassing to Boasberg, but I notice the media are strenuously avoiding this issue. And this is even written by Fox News. This is a very important issue. It's not a technical issue. If you're going to be held in contempt, you have to have notice with details about what it is that you were supposed to do. Not, who did you tell? Who did you tell about this? Or what? We went to the State Department. That's exactly why it needed to be in writing. The judge screwed up, and he's angry. And what should happen now is the question should be asked what the Department of Justice should do with these individuals who are named. Did you receive anything in writing? The question is, Judge, when did you write your order, and how did you issue it? And then your question should have been if you had any integrity, and you have none. When I wrote my order, were the planes already in the air? Were they? Answer is yes. Because you wrote it, but you wrote it late. Now, this is apart from his authority, constitutional authority, in which I would argue has none. This guy's the chief district judge in this jurisdiction. And he doesn't even know how to put an order in writing. He just chose not to do it. What were the circumstances, Judge? Why didn't you put it in writing right away? Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you say there, right in court? You could have written, yeah, honest to God, he could have handwritten it, but he could have said, wait, 30 minutes, 20, whatever time it needs, I'll be right back. Bring it back. Here's my order. I want you to give it to every department and every individual in any department that has anything to do with it. But he didn't do that. Now, this guy's been a judge for a while, since Obama. Obama appointed him. He's been a judge, I think, like 12, 13, 14 years. He knows how this works. But to me, if he wants to make a big issue out of this, then a big issue should be made out of this. But the media are not reporting the truth here, and the truth is this. When exactly did you issue your order, Judge, and to whom did you give it? And to whom did you say it should be given? It's a fair question. You've now held 2, 3, 4 hearings on this? 2, 3, 4 hearings on this. I would encourage my brothers and sisters at Landmark Legal Foundation. I'm the chairman emeritus, which means I'm the so-called pretty face from time to time, but they are fantastic lawyers under Pete Hutchison and the guys. They're just fantastic. To find a way to involve yourself in this, obviously not a standing issue. I'm talking about our case. 22 years ago, the Department of Justice did, and I think we should say, hi, we're over here. That was our case, and you're going to hold people in contempt, and you didn't put the order in writing, or you put it in writing at a late time. What needs to be determined here, perhaps I would argue, defense counsel should do it because they're going to need defense lawyers, is the judge's conduct when the judge did what the judge did and how he communicated it and to whom he asked it to be communicated. It's on the judge. It's on the judge. And it means a lot to me as a factual matter when he's asking. When he's asking, who had knowledge of the flights? Who had knowledge of the flights? Okay. And also, who did you tell this to? Who did you tell it to? Who did you tell it to? Rather than, with whom did you share my order? My written order. But he can't say that, apparently. It's an important issue. Be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our Founding Fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. So Barack Obama's pop. By the way, Michelle is never with him now. Have you noticed that, Mr. Producer? They are never together. Something's wrong in paradise. I mean, what else do you take from that? I mean, Reagan and Nancy, that is Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, they were always together. Their hands were like stuck together. These two were never together. Now, that said, apparently Obama and Harris, remember them, publicly rebuked Trump's latest actions, according to the Constipated News Network, and going after students, don't you know? Excuse me, they're terrorist supporters. No, you don't understand. And going after law firms, don't you know? Oh, the lawfare guys, them too. Really, Barack, Milhouse, Benita, Obama? Really? I seem to recall you went after hundreds of Tea Party organizations. Am I the only one who remembers this, Mr. Producer? He sure as hell did. Tried to shut them down. And, of course, we know that the Harris-Biden regime went after Donald Trump to try to put him in prison. I want to get to this Le Pen thing in France before the end of this program. It is sickening. It is disgusting. They come up with phony charges, convict her, put her in jail, and she can't run. Gee, what does that sound like? And, by the way, she was a threat to Macron and the other cronies. A threat to Macron and the other cronies. Because she was leading in the polls, and they took her out. Exactly what they wanted to do to Trump. Oh, and one other thing. We'll get into all of it. The Hamas numbers used by our media for the last over 500 days that Hamas has now said were wrong. That's as big a scandal as the cover-up on Biden and his dementia. The same media that covered up Biden and his dementia used the Hamas numbers. No matter how much I strained in front of the TV camera, strained behind the microphone, no matter how many experts I read on the air, brought on the air to explain these numbers couldn't be right. They were absolutely wrong. They kept running with them. Leslie Stahl last Sunday. And Hamas says, oh, well, actually, that's not correct. And it's like it never happened. So they just lie. They lied about the lab leak for COVID. They covered it up. They lied about the Hunter laptop. They covered it up. They lie about the Hamas numbers. They lied about Biden. They lie and lie and lie. It's sickening. And then they want you to believe that everything Trump does is unconstitutional. Shut the hell up. We don't care what they think. What a disgraceful group of miscreants and malcontents. James Boasberg, given his conduct, I'm strongly encouraging the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans, abolish this judgeship. Abolish it. Take the funding away. Set an example. Maybe you want to use 4 or 5 of them. That's fine by me. But he's got to be example number 1. There's no reason to be nervous about this, to be scared about it. Use the budgetary spending process. Whatever the rules are, make sure the rules apply. That's all. It's got to be primarily a spending issue. Okay, it's a spending issue. We want to take that money and give it to the homeless people in Washington, D.C. There, I just gave you an answer. Fix this damn thing. It's out of control. We want our Constitution back. We, the people. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Pam Bondi in Fort Lauderdale, Florida today. 3 more MS-13 gang members arrested. Man, they're doing a great job. You know, they've already deported, as we discussed the other night, over 100,000 illegal aliens. And if the judges would get out of the way, it'd be about 500,000 by now. Here she is. Cut 7, go.
Today, we're here to announce the arrest of 3 more MS-13 gang members who were in this country illegally, and they were in Florida, and we will be reviewing them. They've all been arrested for first-degree murder. We will be reviewing them to see if we will seek the death penalty. This has been a long-running investigation that started in 2015. The victim in this case was brutally murdered, stabbed approximately 100 times by multiple gang members.
What do you think of that, judges? Does that offend you? That offend you? Apparently not. Not too many of you. Go ahead.
He suffered tremendously. And these indictments are a warning to all criminals. We don't care how long ago you committed the crime. We don't care where you go. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Gamez Maravilla was located in Lake County, Florida. Get ready for this. He was hanging drywall at the Villages when he was arrested. Bermudez Martinez was apprehended in Minnesota. Great police work by all of our federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies working together. Found this guy in Minnesota. He thought he got away with this crime, and he did not. Navarro Martinez arrested right here in North Lauderdale. They are charged with a brutal murder of a young man. One of these defendants sought him out, convinced him to come with him in his car, took him to a crime scene where they are all charged with violently stabbing him, almost like a game, to get a higher level in their gang initiation. They were all part of an MS-13, it's called Click, a clique that was living right here in Florida. They're not just a street gang, they are a highly organized terrorist organization.
Compare her to, prior attorney general, this department, to the prior department. I mean, it makes you proud, doesn't it? That these folks are on our side, on America's side. You don't have some perverse idea of justice and due process. No, they're taking these people out. Unfortunately, we have to go up against these radical kook judges and some of the others who were appointed by Republicans. Not many, but some who've lost their minds and lost their way. But it should make you very proud of what's going on here. And you notice the Democrats never praise it. They never praise the finding and the prosecution of these people. They don't say a word. In fact, I see Bobblehead, this idiot Chris Coons from Delaware. He's going to be on one of the Sunday shows, Mr. Producer. Did you see that? He's always on a show. I don't know. There's like a handful of them. Raskin. Of course, they won't come on this show, will they? No, of course not. A little too painful for them. I mean, I got Raskin here all day long, MSNBC. I'm sick of hearing of this guy. Kamala Harris is back. Cackle and all, moron and all. She wants to be governor of California. Of course, if she gets the nomination, she's hands down winner. Anybody could be. Once they get the nomination there, it's just a one-party state. That's how it works. Sisterhood. She wants you to know about sisterhood. Yeah, she did a fine job with what's-his-name in making sure that women and girls were protected in sports. Remember all that? Oh, yeah. Sisterhood. Now we can use the word sister. When she was part of the regime, you can't use sister, you can't use woman, you can't use it. Now it's sisterhood. The sisters. Except when it comes to sports. then it's the sisters and the guys who claim to be sisters. They're all full of crap. They don't believe in femininity. They really don't, Mr. Producer. They don't. You don't hear about women's rights anymore. Where are these women's rights groups anyway? Well, now. Where the hell is now? Now is so then. And where has now been since women have come under attack by the radical left kook Marxist Islamists? Where is now? Now? They just wait to attack conservatives. That's all. They're a phony front group. But here's Kamala at the Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. First of all, if you got to name a summit that long, that's a loser to begin with. Cut 2, go.
There's a sense of fear that has been taking hold in our country. Yeah. And I understand it.
What the hell are you talking about? Well, that's always the question with her, isn't it? There's a sense of fear, and I understand it. No, you don't understand it. You and Dummy destroyed women's sports. Women athletics. You and Dummy. And there you are at the Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. That's a mouthful. Yeah. At the Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. And they ask you to speak? They ask you to speak? You should be speaking at some other organization that hates women and hates women's sports. That's where you should be getting an award. Go ahead.
But we're saying people stay quiet. We are seeing organizations stay quiet.
What? You're a complete moron. Nobody's keeping quiet. You people never shut the hell up on the left. You're loud. You're obnoxious. You drop the F-bombs. Some of you folks are using Molotov cocktails and weapons and attacking people who drive Teslas. Sitting quiet? When was the last time these morons ever sat quietly? You're sitting quiet? Where the hell have you been, by the way, since the election's over? Sitting on your butt doing what? Go ahead.
We are seeing those who are capitulating
Oy.
to clearly unconstitutional threats.
Who is capitulating to an unconstitutional threat? What unconstitutional threat are you talking about? Because you want to reduce the size of government, that's an unconstitutional threat? Because you want to take the Hitler youth out of our schools, many of them who have green cards or student visas, that's a constitutional threat? Just because left-wing kooks, slip and fall, ambulance-chasing, crackpot Democrats in robes say that due process or something of that sort's been violated, that's a constitutional threat? And by the way, Kamala, may I call you Kamala? I've been calling you Kamala for 10 years. By the way, Kamala, I thought you hated the Constitution, an old document written by a lot of white guys. Remember all that? Oh, yeah, for years. That's what they told us. Some of them owned slaves. So why do you cite the Constitution? Did you hear from this guy? What's his name? Mistel? Ellie Mistel, Mr. Producer? Any law, I assume that means the Bill of Rights, passed prior to 1965 in the Voting Rights Act should be rejected because it was written by and passed by old white men. So we should ignore the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments and every civil rights bill that was passed up until 1965. And we should ignore all those white guys on the Supreme Court and Brown versus Board of Education and all that stuff, I guess. We should ignore many of the white people who were involved in the civil rights movement, I guess. I don't know. This guy's a kook. He's a clown, but he's everywhere. But I did notice one thing. The green rooms must be well stocked for this guy, don't you think, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The donuts and so he doesn't eat the fruit plate. No, he goes right for it, baby. The donuts, the candy bars. I haven't been in a green room in years. Years. Green room is the holding room for Okay, you're on in 12 minutes. Okay. When you walk out, make sure you're actually looking at the camera. Well, what'd you think I was going to look at? The green room. Now, why do they call it the green room? They're not all green. Some of them are white. Some of them are off-white. Some of them are more bluish. A little reddish. Some of them, the really scary ones. There's some that are a little bit of green. So why do they call it the green room? Here I am in the green room, but it's not green. Oh, okay. Then I used to watch these people. They'd go out. They'd be talking about preservatives in food and, fake coloring of food. And they were just in the green room stuffing their face with a chocolate donut, Mr. Producer. Oh, yeah. Eating Fritos. Having a Diet Coke. Then they go out there like they're Robert Kennedy Jr. And, these companies, Go ahead with Kamala and the sisterhood. Go ahead.
And these are the things that we are witnessing.
Oh, my God.
Each day in these last few months in our country.
What is it about her voice?
And it understandably creates a great sense of fear.
Thank you. Goodbye and good night. Now, cut 3. Go.
One person, when a few stand with the courage, that is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day. To stand.
And who would that be? Who are the leaders in that room every day standing up to, say, men in women's sports, boys in women's sports? How many of those leaders have we heard from, ladies and gentlemen, from the Sisterhood and Strength at the Leading Women Defined Summit? Excuse me, I have to catch my breath. How many of those women have stood up for women? They don't stand up for women. They stand up for liberalism. That's what they stand up for. Marxism. They stand up for Marxist women. That's it. That's it. They don't stand up for women. If they did, they'd be standing with me. I stand up for women, Mr. Producer. I should be getting awards. I stand up for women. I believe women should be treated equally. Oh, yeah. I believe in due process for women. Oh, yeah. I believe under Title IX of the Civil Rights Act that women should have proper sports and the funding of sports. I believe that. They should be standing with me, the women. I don't believe men should be in women's sports at any level. Women, you should be standing with me. The Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. I should be getting the award of the century from the Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. I think I should, Mr. Producer. By the way, where I go and get PT, I go a couple of times a week. My buddy Larry takes care of me. We're like on the second floor, and there's like a track up there, and down below, these people, they come in, I mean, honest to God, they come in like at 6 in the morning, 6:37. They're still there when I show up at like 8 o'clock. And they're working out, and the women, they're working out. I thought to myself, 9 out of 10 of those women down there could kick my ass. You know that, Mr. Producer? They got more muscles than I do. The Sisterhood and Strength at Leading Women Defined Summit. They don't even know anything about these women. Oh, yeah. I'm the one who stands for women. Kamala Harris doesn't stand for women. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Only 2 things in life are certain, death and taxes. Well, now there's a third certainty. If you're with the big wireless providers, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to Pure Talk. That's right, Pure Talk, my sponsor, my cell phone company, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Listen to this. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to Pure Talk. That's real money back in your pocket. And with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. you can keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to start saving right now, today. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. You see Chuck Schumer's behind in the poll that was taken, if you believe these polls, behind AOC. She's leading him, the Democrat Party poll. This is where in New York you could slide through as the third-party candidate. That's what Bill Buckley did, Bill Buckley. That's what James Buckley did many decades ago. You know who he beat, Mr. Producer? Goodell's father. The commissioner was a senator, Charles Goodell. Big lib, just like his son. And he ran on the Conservative Party line. I think it was, I forget the year it was, 74, 76, something like that, whatever it was. And was a fabulous senator, fabulous judge, fabulous person, actually. And he won. And that's how you do it, when the Democrats are fighting with each other and so forth, because a lot of the Schumer supporters will not vote for AOC and vice versa for the Senate. So you slip in. Ooh! Chucky Schmucky Schumer on the floor of the Senate 1996. By my calculation, that's almost 30 years ago, Mr. Producer. I think he was on the floor of the House, actually. He was a representative. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. I think his mother gave him birth in the House of Representatives. The man has never been anywhere else. Cut 6, go.
First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law. But let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person
So understand here, he's very upset that illegal aliens have Social Security cards and they're defrauding the program. Got that? Got that? Got that? Go ahead.
To ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. All over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
Wow. He must be a right-wing racist white supremacist. Excuse me, it's Chuck Schumer. He's God's gift. He doesn't want illegal aliens getting Social Security cards. He doesn't want them getting Social Security. He doesn't want the cards used to effectively create a legalized path fraudulently for illegal aliens. He sounds like me, without the New York accent, of course, but he sounds like moi. Wow, Chucky. Where's the Chucky we used to know? I'll be right back. Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. Well, now there's a third certainty. If you're with the big wireless providers, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to Pure Talk. That's right, Pure Talk, my sponsor, my cell phone company, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Listen to this. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to Pure Talk. That's real money back in your pocket. And with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. You can keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to start saving right now, today. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans.
The Mike Levin Show. This is the home of the July 4th Americans. And you can call at 877-381-3811.
Every now and then I have my buddy Sid Rosenberg on. Sid in the morning at WABC. He'll be with us in hour 3, about 8:20 p.m., give or take. He's a wonderful guy. He's a great guy. Elizabeth Warren on the Constipated News Network on tariffs. You know, the Democrat Party used to be the tariff party. They used to be the quota party. They're the big tax party. They're the big government party, the big regulation party. What's the difference? What's the difference? They drive up the cost of everything. Even Ronnie's fed up with it. You hear Ronnie, Mr. Producer? He's ticked off. He's had enough. He says, look, the cost of my dog food, it's getting out of control with these leftists. He says, here I work all day trying to find a nice spot in the house to sleep. All they want to do is tax my daddy and my mommy. Ronnie's smart. So is his little brother, Toby. Toby's unbelievable, too. And they're like Mutt and Jeff, these two dogs. But let's get back to Pocahontas, who lied her way through academia, who pretended to be a Native American in order to get promotions. Then she gets in the Senate. And, of course, it's hard to say she's one of the dumbest in the Senate because there are so damn many stupid people in the Senate. But she's one of the dumbest. And here she is on the Constipated News Network. Cut 8, go.
What Donald Trump has announced in terms of his tariffs is just plain dumb.
Oh,
it's broad, it's across the board, it applies to too many countries all at once. So think of it this way.
I'm thinking of it this way. All these countries, I'm just as a logical matter, have applied tariffs to us. It's broad. It's too much. Every single country that he's applying these tariffs to have these tariffs applied to us. Then on top of it, you radical kook leftists, a.k.a. crackpots, you want to increase our taxes while you're pretending you don't. Then you want to tax our corporations even more, even though, listen to me, our corporations have the highest corporate income tax in the industrial world. And we have a higher corporate income tax in this country than they have in communist China, which makes it very difficult for our companies to compete and for people to keep jobs and get jobs. So the Democrats punish our businesses, punish people who are successful, take their money, redistribute it to their cronies, create bloated, out-of-control government. And then she's there talking about what we should do. Why does anybody listen to Pocahontas anyway? Now, we do it for entertainment and foil value. So go ahead.
On Canadian lumber, just drives up the cost of building homes.
And really? And what tariff do the Canadians put on our lumber? Some enormous number, like way over 100%. See what I mean? These people instinctively support our enemies, our competitors, our adversaries. They don't support us. So what tariff do they put on us? Well, you know what? Now that I brought it up, Mr. Producer, I think I have an obligation to look it up. Stick with me, folks. Let's see. What tariff does Canada put on American lumber? Here we go. Stick with me. Here we go. 25%. A 25% duty. Okay. How come she doesn't mention that? Well, let's continue, shall we? I think it will. What tariff? You know, Elizabeth, you can do this too. While you're reaching for a beer with your husband, what tariff does Canada put on dairy products from the U.S.? 250%, Mr. Producer? 250% on dairy products? Folks, you can look it up too. Hello. 250% tariff on our dairy products? Sometimes it's 270%. Some tells me they don't want our dairy farmers selling anything into Canada. And Trump looks at that. He says, okay, you know what? That's enough of that already. And what's her ass thinks that's wrong. In fact, I'm reading here in a recent social media post. Yeah, that's right. That's a big tariff number, I would say. I assume that means milk and butter and eggs, cheese. Elizabeth Warren wouldn't know that because I don't think they make those things in Massachusetts, do they? Just guess, I don't. What's their tariff on maple syrup, I wonder? I don't know. Go ahead.
United States. We need more homes in the United States, and we sure don't need them to be more expensive. So I think the concern right now is that sometimes tariffs could be good, but not when you do it like Donald Trump just did.
Well, how do we do it then? If you believe as she does, again, I'm not hot to trot on tariffs. I'm just asking, if you believe as she does on tariffs, what's the right way to do it? This woman's been around, these Democrats, some of these Republicans, they've been around forever. That's not the right way to do it. Well, what is? Well, you know. And they run up the debt massively. They run up our taxes massively. They're hollowing out our industries. You know how many ships we build a year? You're not going to believe this. You'll hear it on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Saturday, Sunday, I go into great depth on what's going on with our industries. You're not going to want to miss it. You know how many ships we build? I'm not talking about yachts and boats. Ships we build every year, Mr. Producer. 10. You know how many ships the Communist Chinese build every year, Mr. Producer? 100. We build 10. They build 100. So what has Elizabeth Warren done about that? Nothing. Trump's saying, we got to do something about this, you know? Our Navy's falling behind. Our merchant Marines falling behind. Don't tell the warmongers and neocons if we go to war, we're not going to have enough equipment and ships. Who is this guy, Charles Matthews? Have you ever heard of this guy? I think that's his name. I got to make sure I'm right before I really lay into this punk. I think he has a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, there's probably 4.5 billion podcasters out there. Some are very good. Most of them are nothing. Some are very good. Most of them are nothing. If you have an orange juice can and a string, you can be a podcaster. No offense. So you got to be, you got to be choosy. You got to be choosy about your podcasters. It's not the same in talk radio. There's a handful of us, and some of us are, better than others. Whatever your opinion is of me, I'm just saying some are better than others. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Only two things in life are certain, death and taxes. Well, now there's a third certainty. If you're with the big wireless providers, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to Pure Talk. That's right, Pure Talk, my sponsor, my cell phone company, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. Listen to this. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to Pure Talk. That's real money back in your pocket. And with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. you can keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to start saving right now, today. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. Here we be. Don't forget, folks, always, you should always download our podcast platform. That is, you have a favorite podcast platform, you can always download The Mark Levin Show. Or download a podcast platform and use The Mark Levin Show. So you go to marklevinshow.com, click on Audio Rewind, select your favorite platform. If you've already selected your favorite platform, just search for Mark Levin Show. This way you can hear us anytime, day or night, all 3 hours. You can also find us on our own YouTube channel. The full podcast, which is this radio show, interviews, specials on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com at Mark Levin Show, or just search Mark Levin Show at YouTube. It's that simple. We make it easy. You can also subscribe to satellite radio. We love it here. Sirius Satellite, you have that. The Mark Levin app, the iHeartRadio app. We have live streaming. We be everywhere. We be everywhere. Can't avoid us. We love our Berna. You know what Berna is? We have a powerful third hour. We have our buddy Sid Rosenberg. Sid in the morning. Biggest morning host in New York. My buddy. He'll be here. Very, very important. Hamas admits it's lied to the world about how many children and civilians died in Gaza, writes Andrea Pfizer. She's one of the great columnists for the New York Post, and there's many. They have denied the truth that Hamas, the media, have raped its prisoners, invented atrocities by Israeli forces, denied Israel has the right to exist. They also made up how many Gazans died. Now they admit it. We told them this. We told them, the media, this. They didn't care. Just like Biden. In March 2025, the fatality list, 3,400 victims simply vanished. Previously listed as people who perished last August and October, turns out they were invented. That includes 1,080 children Hamas claimed were killed by Israel that never were. They've claimed that 50,000 people have been killed by the Israelis. It's a lie. The demographics are the most important thing in all this. We heard the claims that about 70% of the deaths are women and children, said the Henry Jackson Society on the Gazan casualties. And these lists, especially the most recent, show complete nonsense. The truth, about 72% of those killed are men, ages 13 to 55. In other words, members of Hamas, would-be members of Hamas. Now, we're going to hear the Sunday shows apologize, correct themselves, meet the depressed, face the nation, a.k.a. deface the nation. That's right. All the Sunday shows. You're going to burp up your apologies, you creeps? Nah, they won't. Power Hour's next. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I want to give a salute to Senator Josh Hawley out there, who was really terrific. See, they get ambushed by these radical kook leftists like Code Pink, and Code Pink is heavily funded, we now know, by communist China. And so, of course, he was confronted. And he fought back. Cut 15, nice and loud. Go.
How about weapons to Israel? Do you think you should?
Oh, you're the China people. You're the China.
We don't
Yes,
get
you are funded.
anything.
Oh, yes, you are 100% funded.
We don't
by the
get
Chinese Communist Party.
It's a lie. We get zero.
It is absolutely true. It has been documented over and over.
Show me one documentation.
Go look at the New York Times article.
From all the money you take from AIPAC.
No, I'm not.
You're a foreign agent.
You're an anti-Semite.
You're a foreign agent. I am Jewish.
It doesn't matter. You are an anti-Israel, pro-China, pro-CCP. It is disgusting.
More children
Your organization has defended the Uyghurs. They have defended the Uyghurs being violated, being persecuted. It is a moral travesty. Where's the blood on your hands? You have blood on your hands. You're awash in blood and dirty money. And I hope that you are accountable for that one day. Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Outstanding senator. We haven't had him on in a long time, have we, Rich? Maybe we'll bring him on next week if he'd like to come on. But that was perfect. Yeah, Code Pink, it turns out, is really Code Red, a.k.a. Bernie Sanders Red. I can't stand it when they say, oh, the red states, and we're the blue states. They're the red states. But, you know, they twisted it, as I've discussed before, and so now we're the red states. And I used to call commies pinkos and reds, not the blues. Blues were the good guys. Apparently not anymore, but Josh Hawley, that was outrageous. So Rosa DeLauro was outside the Capitol building yesterday on Tesla car attacks, and I'm giving her some props. Just so you know, I do that too. I would say she's probably the best-looking member of the House of Representatives, wouldn't you, Mr. Producer? It's not even close. Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut, the nutmeg state, but she was very good on this. Cut 14, go.
The issue going on with Tesla, the boycott, what's your take on the whole situation with the violence at the dealerships?
Yeah, no, I'm opposed to violence. I don't believe in violence. I mean, people can voice their opposition, but we can't live in a violent nation.
Do you think those boycotts and the violence does more to hurt the clean energy movements? It's their EVs or
Elon? People can be opposed to something, and people boycott stuff all the time. If you go back in my history, I didn't eat grapes for Cesar Chavez, many years ago, to boycott that. But
hold on, hit the brakes. Oh, Cesar Chavez. She didn't eat grapes for Cesar Chavez. Really? I love grapes, Mr. Producer. Seedless grapes. Sweet, seedless grapes. Cesar Chavez, and I quote him, not me, talked about stopping the wetbacks from coming into the country. He was the number one enemy of illegal immigrants. He made the case that they were undermining his union movement for American Hispanics, who he's trying to organize the Farm Workers Union. And he said the illegal immigrants were undercutting his movement. And he was joined by Ralph Abernathy, who had been the right-hand man of Martin Luther King, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He'd been joined by Walter Mondale. They had a march on the border. Eugene McCarthy. They all opposed illegal immigration because they said it undermined Cesar Chavez and the entire farm workers movement. And it's good to know that Rosa DeLauro, didn't eat grapes to support the Cesar Chavez movement. I wonder if she eats grapes now. It was an amazing thing when Barack Milhouse Benito Obama had the statue of the shoulders and head of Chavez in his office. It was him or Biden, but I think it was Obama. He called it Cesar Chavez Day, and Cesar Chavez was the leading opponent of illegal immigration of his day. And he didn't hold back. We did almost an entire show on this 10 or 15 years ago. I've written about it in several books. Cesar Chavez did a radio interview in San Francisco. We played the audio. Remember that, Mr. Producer? Remember when he used the word wetbacks and things of that sort? And there's his bust in the Oval Office with Obama, because Obama doesn't even know what the hell he's doing. Go ahead.
stop. We can't really make that a part of what our national discourse is.
That's true. Molotov cocktails are out. Shooting at dealerships, that's out. Firebombing, destroying Teslas, that's out. Attacking mostly women who are driving Teslas, that's got to stop. And I want to thank Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries for taking such a lead role, day in and day out, telling the Democrat Party militia to cut it out. The Democrat Party militia that burned our cities in 2020. Remember how they stood up to them, too? Oh, you don't. Neither do I. At January 6th, yeah, we all know about January 6th. The Democrat Party is violent. Violent. 1960s, 1970s. 2020. Tesla. And that's not all. Very violent. Some of you might recall the Civil War. The Democrat Party was very, very violent in its fight for slavery. Segregation. Lynching. Oh, yeah. Remember that? Well, you may not remember it, but you remember reading about it, seeing it. Pretty sick. Pretty sick. And there's the great Franklin Roosevelt. Who tells these things other than me? There he is, sitting at his desk. Finally, they get a bill out of Congress, a bipartisan bill. Almost all the Republicans. A federal law outlawing lynching. It's a no-brainer, don't you think? And he wouldn't sign it. 1940. Because he didn't want to lose some of his segregationist friends in the South in the upcoming election. His first appointee to the Supreme Court, Hugo Black. Hugo Black was the lawyer for the Klan in Alabama. Oh, gee, Mark, nobody ever taught us this. Franklin Roosevelt, the great Franklin Roosevelt. If you read The Democrat Party Hates America, you'll have chapter and verse. Chapter and verse. No question about it. Great Franklin Roosevelt, the great Democrat Party. That's right. So we had segregation right up until the 1950s, until the Brown versus Board education. That decision. Separate but equal was equal, said the Supreme Court. Oh, yes, the Supreme Court in 1896. You know, it was the private railroad car owners in Louisiana. They said blacks and whites can ride together in the same car. Wow. And the state said that violates state law. Case goes to the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States rules that separate but equal is equal. Segregation. For decades and decades and decades thereafter. Separate water fountains, separate bathrooms. Supreme Court decision. Everybody says, we need the federal government. I was just reading a book, as I prepare my own book. You have these liberals say, but what would we do without the federal government? The civil rights movement, the civil rights movement came out of the black churches. It didn't come out of the federal government. The abolitionist movement came out of the Republican Party. It didn't come out of the federal government. A Republican Party that was created to end slavery, 1856. That party. Then I like the way the Democrats, well, you switch sides. Now the Democrat, no, nobody switched sides. The Democrats are still Marxist Islamists. They're bigots and racists, just different kinds of bigots and racists right now. That's all. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have my man Sid and Friends in the Morning, WABC, the highest rated show in the Western Hemisphere, I think, Sid. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. What a great night. First of all, you introduced me with Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is amazing, Mark. And
yes.
You know you're my hero, and I love you, and you're the best ever.
Likewise.
So it's an honor to be on with you on this Shabbos Friday night.
So tell me, sit-in friends in the morning. What about sit-in friends during the rest of the day? Who are your friends during the rest of the day?
You know, Mark, when 10 o'clock comes along, I just don't care.
You're tired. You've been up all morning and night, yeah.
All right.
What time do you get up in the morning?
3 a.m. I get up at 3 a.m.
My God,
my
that's when I'm going to bed.
Picks me up. I go to bed about 9:30. My driver picks me up in Queens at 4. I get into Manhattan about 4:45, and the show starts at 6. So, you know, there are nights, Mark. I actually hosted a very big event. You love this family, Benji and Shai, for the young Jewish conservatives in Manhattan on Wednesday night. I got home at midnight, and I was up at 3. So my schedule is very difficult. I've aged about 10 years over the last 3 years.
Do you need a lot of sleep? I honestly, Sid, I get maybe 2-3 hours. That's it. It's not healthy.
No, look,
it's not healthy.
The great ones, and you just said it, you are the great one, but you, President Trump, John Katsimatidis, my boss, all incredibly successful people, and they don't sleep. So somebody sent me a study this week. They said, you know, Sid, if you don't get 8 hours of sleep every night, you're going to suffer from early dementia. And by the time they sent it to me, I forgot about it. So,
well,
so I'm not getting
I hear that's true, by the way.
I know it's true, but I got to tell you this. So you know, Mark, that I come from a sports background. I've been doing news talk now for the last 9 years, but I spent 16 years doing sports talk at the biggest sports stations in America, including WFAN right here in New York. So tomorrow night is the Final Four. And I must have gone to the venue for the Final Four 10 times in my career. Happens to be in San Antonio, Texas tomorrow. But you got 4 basketball teams left. Auburn University, the Florida Gators, Duke, and Houston.
I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say.
You got 3 Jewish coaches.
That's right. And above and beyond that, Mark, I've been doing this a long time. I've interviewed 5 presidents, every celebrity, every athlete, you name it, I've interviewed them. I am telling you, I had a conversation on my show with Auburn Tiger head coach Bruce Pearl on Wednesday.
You know he's a buddy of mine.
One of the 5 best I've ever done.
He's good. He's smart as hell, isn't he?
Mark, he knows every town in Israel. He spent more time on this phone call talking about, Judea and Samaria, talking about Edon Alexander, talking about the hostages in Gaza, as he did his point guard, Denver Jones, shutting down Walter Clayton Jr. of the Gators. He is so enthusiastic about Israel's future. And at the same time, of course, nervous. But he knows everything about that country. I was shocked.
Now, who's going to win, Sid? That's the bottom line. Now, put your expertise on the line here. Tell us, who's going to win?
Mark, if I knew that, no disrespect, but I'd be in Vegas right now, and I'd be worth more money than any prince you can find in Saudi Arabia and Qatar combined. But if I have to pick it,
you have to.
All right, I think the Florida Gators are going to play Duke on Monday night, and I do think that the Duke Blue Devils will be the national champs.
Who's their coach again?
What's that?
Who's their coach again?
Duke has a guy named John Shire who played at Duke, and he's one of the 3 Jewish coaches. The only team, Mark, without a Jewish coach is Houston. You've got Bruce Pearl at Auburn, Jewish, Todd Golden at Florida, Jewish, John Shire at Duke, Jewish.
What do you think accounts for that? Just luck of the draw for them?
Oh, smarter. We know that.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Maybe. There's not a lot of Jewish coaches in college basketball.
No.
There are more than the 3 we're going to see tomorrow night, obviously. But, they've got great basketball teams. The truth is those guys have had success, especially Bruce Pearl, at other universities. So they're already really, really good coaches. and they've got great basketball teams. And, yeah, I think it's luck of the draw, but it is what it is. 75% of the coaches in these two big games tomorrow night are Jewish. That's the bottom line.
Now, here's the thing, Sid. Actually, Jews have had a big role in basketball, professional basketball. You have Auerbach, he was Jewish. You had a number of these early players who were Jewish and early owners who were Jewish. I mean, basketball really was in its beginning, I mean, it would start in places like Brooklyn and Philadelphia and places like that, and Jewish communities and some of the other communities, didn't it?
100%. In fact, there was a great player who played in college here in New York, and his name was Dolph Shays. And his son, Danny, went on to play in the NBA for the Orlando Magic for many years. But, you know, what's funny, Mark, is whether you're talking about basketball, which is predominantly black right now, or boxing, you know, there was a time in the early 1900s, every champ was Jewish. And then we decided, why do we want to get punched in the face? Why do we want to run up and down the court?
Well, join the mob.
Let's just buy the team, make the money, and have somebody else do all the hard work. We're very, very smart. But to your point, all kidding aside, boxing, basketball, all these sports, most of the athletes were Jewish. And, of course, that's changed over time.
And the early mobsters.
That's exactly right. And
we're Jewish.
We had some of that, right? We had guys like Meyer Lansky. We had guys like Bugsy Siegel. I mean, he'll kill you in 15 seconds.
Yeah, he's a killer.
That's when the whole transformation started to take place.
I'm sure all the non-Jews out there are really enjoying this discussion. So what do you think?
Well, look.
Okay, there's the Jews going on and on.
Look, it's what everybody's talking about these days. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out. Let's get to the biggest story in the country right now. It's not actually, for this week at least, it's not Hamas and Israel. It's not Ukraine and Russia. Explain this to me. It's the tariffs, okay? Now, look, I'm not freaking out.
Don't hang up. Don't hang up. We got the, you're a pro. We'll get right back to this. Sid wants me to explain something. That's unusual. Let's see. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin. The Thunder on the right. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
We're here with our buddy, Sid Rosenberg, the morning man. Sid and Friends, WABC in New York. You wanted to talk about tariffs, Sid. Go ahead.
I did. Look, I'm not freaking out. First of all, the good news is, Mark, is that I don't make a lot of money. So I don't have a lot of money to lose.
Right, yeah.
But on a serious note, I placed all my faith and all my trust in President Trump with every issue, whether it's, having a relationship with my mayor here in New York City, whether it's what he's doing in Ukraine, Israel, and here too. I placed all my trust in him. But just in case you've got one Jew hater left listening, just one, explain to me why Bibi and Israel have no tariffs on us, but we're still imposing a 17% tariff on Israel. How is that?
I don't know that either. I think they're going to ask Trump about that. What happened was 99% of the goods had no tariffs on it forever. And then the last 1%, 48 hours before what President Trump did, he said, all right, in this last 1%, we're taking off that too. I don't know. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
It is kind of weird, but the general tariff thing, which obviously has the left freaking out, and they're loving every second. You have to understand. I know you know this, but your listeners know this too. The Democrat politicians, they want us to die. They want us to go broke. They would love for this to be a disaster. Now, I got bad news. It's going to be ugly. Maybe 6 months, like Katie McFarland told me today, and then eventually we're all going to be the wealthiest we've ever been. But that these Democrats would rather this go bad for 3 years and all of us die. That's 100%. What they want. They vote against us.
They're going to try and kill the tax cuts. Those are crucial to making this whole tariff scheme work. They're crucial regardless, but you got to have significant, broad tax cuts. They're running around saying it's going to create deficits. No, what creates deficits is spending. And the Democrats do it all the time, whether there's tax cuts or no tax cuts. So ignore them. They're buffoonish. Absolutely buffoonish. But you've got to have significant tax cuts for the economy to be strong while you're going through this tariff issue. And then I don't know what KT's saying, and then at that point, you really have a good shot. His goal is to reindustrialize America. We can't make any ships anymore, which hurts us, our Navy, our national security, our defense. Our pharmaceutical companies are fantastic. I don't attack them, but they need the elements that are produced and provided by China, for God's sakes. That's outrageous, and I can go on and on and on. And he's looking at this, and he's saying, how much longer can a great country do this? And the answer is not much longer.
And he's right, and so are you. I mean, the fact that at one point a couple of years ago, 87% of our antibiotics came from China. That is not only sickening and expensive, but incredibly dangerous. So I spoke to Ron Johnson a couple of days ago. I dropped names like Pat O'Brien, by the way. And he said to me, listen, Sid, this latest bill is not going to pass the Senate because the truth is you save about 200 bill. And there's a way we can save about 800 if we just go back to our spending days before COVID. Go back to Trump 2019, and we can do this. Now, the way Ron explained it, it sounded like we can do it for about 2 minutes. Then it sounded like pie in the sky. So it doesn't seem like
you need vote. You need what called votes, right?
What we do. Yes.
And that's their problem. They talk about this stuff, but they don't cobble together the votes. And that's great, but we don't apparently sit, and this isn't to attack any single senator or congressman, but it's one thing for them to come on our shows and talk about this stuff. How are they going to rally their fellow Republicans to do these things? They're not very good at it.
That's an understatement. They're actually really bad at it. And that's what's depressing. I mean, you expect it from the Democrats, but when Republicans in the House can't come together for an obvious common cause, and Mike Johnson's great. We love Mike Johnson. Yeah. Not his fault. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene's been coming along. But it really is disappointing. Very disappointing.
Well, you're never disappointing. I can't wait to see you in May. We're going to our buddy Shaya's bar mitzvah. We're all going to be there. By the way, are you bringing your wife? You do have a wife, right?
I have a wife. I got to tell you, Levin, first of all, she's gorgeous, and I know everybody says that about their wife. Your wife is, and she's brilliant, too, great writer. I'll be married 33 years to the lovely Danielle. Yeah. So she'll be there with me at the bar mitzvah, and we can't wait to see you. We're at this big event in New York City Wednesday night, and all they're talking about is Mark Levin. I'll tell you one quick story on the way out. Kershowitz says to me, I'm in Florida last week at a big event for ZOA with Mark Levin, and they're talking about Sid Rosenberg. I said, come on. Now, that's a big, big deal, Mark, no?
You're loved. You're loved. All right, buddy. And God bless you, and we appreciate it. Love you too, man. You take care of yourself.
You keep being great every night. And Rich, I love you too. See you, boys.
My producer. He is the best. He's been with me every day since I started this. He really is fantastic. All right, man. God bless you. Thank you. I always got to get some Sid every month. You know what I mean? I got to hear from Sid. He grounds me. He's a good man. He's a great guy. All right, Mr. Producer. I don't see any emails here with my call list on it. So I'm going to have to... Let's defer to you. To whom shall we speak? XM Satellite, Deborah in Nashville, Tennessee. By the way, Deborah, I've got a lot of family there. We do. A lot of tornadoes and storms around there. Are you doing okay?
We're doing great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Go for it.
I just called today because I wanted to tell you, there's a whole bunch of things that I always want to talk to you about. I don't get a hold of you very often. But I love when you're in these kind of moods on Friday. You make me laugh so hard a lot of times.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I can be a very sarcastic SOB. What's that?
I love it. I love it. So but one thing, when you were talking with Sid, that has just been driving me crazy over the last week or so is the Republicans getting this stuff, getting these tax cuts done. I'm sorry. Well, what is the deal, and why can't we do this?
I think we can. And you got a few knuckleheads there who think they're accountants. They're there. Wait a minute, we're going to create a deficit. No, you're not. There's a deficit that's going to be created because you spend too damn much. But when you let the rest of us keep our money, that's not an expense on the government's books. That's our money. So the government prints money. We make money. There's a difference. We make it. We make the economy work. You and I, we don't print money. We don't print paper. The government prints paper. It produces nothing. They redistribute wealth. They make political and ideological decisions. We make decisions that are economic decisions. That's why the private sector works and the government doesn't. So Donald Trump is saying, my God, let's get some growth, prosperity, wealth creation. That's how you spread the wealth, through the capitalist system, not redistribution of wealth, which is what the Democrats want to do. And he's saying, we got to build up our industries here. We can't even build ships anymore. And even our drugs, which are fantastic. I mean, we have the best pharmaceutical companies on the face of the earth. But the elements that they use to make so many of these very important medicines, we have to ship in from the enemy. That's got to stop, too. And then computer chips. Over 90% of the computer chips produced, maybe in the world, but for us, come out of Taiwan. We've got to be at least somewhat self-sufficient on these things that really, really matter. And he's 100% right. So here's what he's trying something that's never been tried in American history. These across-the-board tariffs, that's on one side. Then on the other side, massive tax cuts across the board, massive government cuts, that is, restraining and constraining the size of government, massive deregulation, massive reduction of force on the government side. So fiscally, dealing with the expenses, dealing with growth, the tariffs to try and reindustrialize America. He's put this package together like something we've never seen before. Nobody's certain it's going to work, quote unquote, whatever that means. But people need to put their ideology aside and understand what the man is doing. And I'm willing to give him a shot. I definitely am, and so is Sid, and so are so many other Americans, and we hope it works. And I think a lot of it's going to work. And thank you for your call. You sound like a wonderful lady there in Nashville, Tennessee. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
We have Ken on the line from somewhere America. Go right ahead, Ken.
Well, I just called up Mark, and I wanted to say a little bit about the tariffs. When Israel has a 17% tariff and there's zero going in, the tariff doesn't mean that they're going to always lay out a whole bunch of cash. Part of the tariff could be a discount in prices of goods, maybe 8 to 12%, and the rest might be passed on.
Maybe, but the president said reciprocal. You do zero, we do zero. So they're going to have to iron that out. That's what he was saying. Just a thought. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, a great Life, Liberty, and Levin. Please don't miss it. The opening statement's especially critically important. You can always set your DVR if you're going to watch basketball or something, but I don't even think basketball is on when I'm on. 8 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday. We have Stephen Miller, among others. Another important opening statement, so check us out both nights. We'll be there. Hope you will, too. All right, folks, the week is officially over. The weekend begins now. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel, and you, the American people. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi. Good night, Smokey. Good night, Gigi. Good night, Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, Barney. Good night, Marty. Good night, Dad and Mom. We're fighting like hell. Good night, Leo and Joe. Bernie, Lou, Teddy, and good night, America. See you tomorrow on Fox.